Okay, ladies, listen up, my friends. Activists at Planned Parenthood just conducted a poll asking which presidential contender poses, quote, the worst threat to women in 2016. No surprise, the only options for worst threat were Republican candidates, including, of course, Carly Fiorina. Now, how is a female candidate a threat to women? Marjorie Dannenfelser is the president of Susan B. Anthony List, and Taryn Rosenkrantz is Democratic strategist and founder of New Blue Interactive. They both join me now for debate on this. So how then is this a fair poll if they're not offering anyone but Republican candidates as the worst threat posed to women? Marjorie, I'll start with you.
Well, that definition of who is good for women or who is a real woman is pretty darn narrow for Planned Parenthood. And you have to be many things in that ideological mold, but you must be abortion-centered. You must be for abortion up until the end and at taxpayer expense. If that wasn't in the formula, then they wouldn't be having a poll and they wouldn't have an organization. I think the craziest thing is somehow one of the strongest, smartest, most successful women in America, Carly Fiorina, could somehow be bad for women. She is a woman who is helping young women unlock their own potential all over the country, and you know, it just doesn't, it's not attractive to women, it's not attractive to anybody, and it frankly isn't working. So they're trying to change the conversation away from that abortion center to everything but it, but that's really what they're talking about.
Taryn, what's your response to that?
Well, I think that's actually not at all what's happening. In fact, they posed the survey as which one would be the greatest threat to women's health. And so this was about they included only a list of anti-women's health agenda. So that's why you're only seeing those GOP candidates. And I think that they weren't trying to actually insult or say anything about her feelings towards women or what kind of woman she was. It's talking about and starting a conversation, which is Planned Parenthood's mission about health care choices for women and access to health care for women. And I think that's what we're talking about here, and I think that's what they're accusing her of. And voters, just as they'll do in the real election, don't have to vote for her on this survey, but this is a way for them to interact, excuse me, with their supporters.
I want to jump in here because you said start a conversation. Some people feel as though they're trying to control and manipulate the conversation here, and some people don't think it's their place at all to do so, particularly when they're getting government funding in terms of grants. They have $528.6 million received in government funding of grants, 41% of their 2014 revenue right there. I mean, that is a huge amount of money that's being funded by the taxpayer, and yet to put out a survey like this seems a little tilted. Marjorie?
Well,
right. And to undermine their own views. Our tax burden to support Planned Parenthood, who goes out and undermines their own views on important issues like, quote, women's health. That is a code word, like we all know, for abortion or not abortion. You would not ever be looking at a candidate and say they're pro-women's health ever if they supported a restriction on abortion at any stage, especially where we are now, which is sweeping the country in the House and the Senate and the states, which is a limit on abortion after 5 months. This is wildly popular among women, men, every demographic that you can think of, and yet if you're for that, you are not for women's health. That's why you don't like Carly Fiorina.
Well, it's a heated debate right now. Taryn and Marjorie, I want to thank you for your comments today. What do you think about that at home? Let us know. Email, Facebook, Instagram. I'll stand by for your comments. And up next,